Valley, hooey Hollywood.
Welcome in, everybody, to a most excellent bonus episode of That Movie Show. Mike, Wendt, and Eddie McCabe back with you again tonight here, and we are taking a look at the third installment of Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted Face the Music. Eddie,
excellent.
I know you're excited. I was excited to see this. I didn't know how excited I was going to be and how it's one of those weird things. Like I mentioned it yesterday in our Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure review.
Yes.
That I didn't know how much of a Bill and Ted fan I was until recently rewatching it as an adult. And we talked about, you know, as a kid, you have your attachments to your 80s, especially comedy sci-fi movies. And you were absolutely right. I'm more of a Back to the Future guy than a Bill and Ted guy. But looking back on it, man, and now that they're doing a third one, they're talking about a fourth one now. And
I would imagine.
I would love it. I would absolutely love it, especially the dynamics that they set up in this third movie, which we will get to. But right off the bat, I mean, you're our Keanu guy here. You created the Keanu-verse within this show. So what was your first impressions of seeing Bill and Ted Face the Music?
So I knew going into this that, like, I was going to like this movie. It was going to have to, it was a really, really low bar that they had to hurdle, right? Like,
to make you like it.
To make me like it.
Right.
Obviously, when you go and you see a movie based on a property that you like, you want other people to enjoy it too, right? Like,
you want everyone to join in the fun.
Right. Like, I really like Kung Pao Enter the Fist, which is a garbage movie that most people...
Which one was that?
That's the one that's the Kung Fu movie, but...
Was that the Danny McBride one?
No.
He did one, right?
I don't remember. But Kung Pao is the one where they basically just CGI'd one guy into the movie, but used an actual, like, Chinese martial arts movie. And it's a garbage movie, but I absolutely love it. And most people don't like it. And so, like, you know, I figured it was one of those type of deals where...
Is it a comedy?
It was a comedy. Kung Pao Entered the Fist.
Because we did... Which one did we do?
Kung Fu Hustle.
Oh, I love that one.
That's a very different movie.
Loved that one.
Here's the thing. We already have our movie picked out for this week, or for next week. The week after, we should do Kung Pao Enter the Fist, because your response is going to be this fucking movie.
Danny McBride's was The Foot Fist Way.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
2006. It looks very similar. It looks like Danny McBride doing like MMA karate.
Sure. But
it was an MTV film, so enough said.
Yeah, enough said. So having everybody else and having all of the reviews of Bill and Ted Face the Music be overwhelmingly positive was making my heart happy going into this movie. And it was awesome to know that this movie wasn't just fun for the sake of my love for Keanu Reeves and this franchise, but also this was a good movie.
It was an excellent movie. And for those of you that are listening, be like, oh shit, I haven't seen it yet. We're gonna do spoiler free until we hit the trailer. Once we hit the trailer, that will be the mark that we're gonna start talking spoilers. But yeah, it was so much fun, and seeing it as an adult again, it's cool because these are guys our age, or my age anyway. I'm older than you. That it's like, wow, it's like they were my age back then. I mean, I'm probably 10 years younger, I would say.
Yeah.
Because 1989, when the first movie came out, I was 9 years old. They were high school, so give or take.
It depends on. I might have been a month old. When was it released? In May?
February.
February? Oh, so it is older than I am, only by a month.
You were still in the womb, right?
I was still in the womb.
Okay, all right.
Still cooking.
Still cooking. You were in the Eddie Bake Oven.
Yeah, I was in the Eddie Bake Oven. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, so like fucking 30 years later, seeing these guys come back, and we hit on it in our Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure movie. Like Alex Winter, I know he's been. I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, and please go check it out. It's on HBO Max or HBO, whatever you have. Showbiz Kids is a documentary about child actors from this generation, from the 80s and 90s. And he directed it. He created, he directed it. And he's been directing, like he's been doing documentaries and stuff like that. But it's like watching him in these movies. And again, to reiterate what I said on the last one, much like Billy Zabka having the resurgence with Cobra Kai.
Right.
It's like why? I'm not saying this as an insult, but why haven't these guys been working steadily? Like, why haven't Alex Winter and Billy Zabka been in our faces for 30 years? Because they're fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, Keanu obviously goes on to have the career that Keanu Reeves has.
He's one of the biggest stars right now working.
Right.
Like,
and so
John Wick franchise, they can't make them fast enough. People just want more, and they're brilliant movies, and they're brilliant the way they're handling them. We've done 2 out of 3 already on the podcast.
Yeah.
We've done the first one and the third one. We'll get to probably the second one next year when the fourth comes out, because we're just weird like that.
It's a really weird way to do that. But
the third one had just come out, and it just hit Blu-ray, and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then you were like, oh, Keanu, yes.
That's exactly what happened.
Fighting dogs? Yes.
Yeah, Halle Berry?
Halle Berry and Attack. Just go listen to our John Wick one, because I'm not going to repeat it. It's awesome. That whole dog sequence is a work of magic.
Yeah, but Alex Winter just it just shows you, because like he should have been working this whole time as an actor, because he just
as a leading actor.
Right, because he is fantastic in this. The best part is, and I don't know their personal relationship, but it feels like they picked up right where they left off.
Keanu and Alex Winter.
Yeah, the chemistry between the two of them was fantastic the entire time.
Without doing enough research to say 100%, to the best of my knowledge, they were friendly, and we kind of touched on it on the last one. They were friendly when they were younger, because they were, young working actors in Hollywood, and you hang out, and if you have like-minded people, yeah, cool, you gravitate to it. They had great chemistry. Obviously, they did 2 Bill and Ted movies, and I think it's one of those things that they've. It's not like there was a bitter separation.
Right.
It wasn't Axl Rose and Slash type of thing where they hadn't spoke for 30 years and it's like, yeah, we'll get together for the money. I think they genuinely do like each other, and it comes across. I got Bill and Ted Face the Music on Vudu, the digital streaming service, and they bundled it nicely, because I talked about it last week when we briefly talked about you going to see it at the drive-in, which I was pissed at. When I actually looked for it, none of the drive-ins were showing it. Vudu put it out originally, much like all the digital streaming services, for $24.99, and you could own it. It wasn't a rental, which was nice. It was a nice perk. But I'm someone who, if you've listened to the show once, I love physical media. I love collecting. I have a library of Blu-rays. That's my thing, and I want to own this Bill and Ted movie. I have literally. I got the originals on the Shout Factory Blu-ray, which is wonderful. This is both the first 2. So it's like, to add to my collection, I want to own Bill and Ted Face the Music. I don't want to own it just digitally. And I don't want to pay. And again, as an adult with responsibilities and bills, I don't want to pay twice for something like that, for the same fucking thing. Because when the Blu-ray is released, it's going to probably come out with a Blu-ray, a DVD, and a digital copy.
Yes. For
less money than $24.99, I'm guessing. Long story short, like the day after I got upset that none of the drive-ins were showing it, Vudu released a bundle package of Bill and Ted Face the Music, along with digital copies of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, all for $35. And I wish Vudu was paying me for this commercial, because it is. And that's a deal I can't pass up. It's like $25 for one movie that I'm going to eventually buy again. Can't go with it. $35 for 3 movies I love, and I didn't own. Like I said, I have the originals on Blu-ray, but I didn't have them digitally, and I'm a obsessive addict for movies, and I wanted to collect them all. So, and this was a way for me to also see the new one and not feel like I'm going to be paying twice for it, and worth it. So anyway, long story long, included is bonus features for Bill and Ted Face the Music, along with the full 45-minute Comic-Con at Home panel. It's hosted by Kevin Smith, and it has the writers Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon, along with Samara Weaving and Kristen Schaal plays Ted's daughter, along with Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves. And just, you can tell that the two of them get along much like the 2 writers were friends in college. Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon were buddies in college when they created Bill and Ted. And you can tell there's a lot of that same dynamic with Alex and Keanu in this.
Yeah.
And
that just makes your heart happy.
just because before without further ado, because I've already talked about half the cast, and again, I'm an obsessive type. Let me do the business real quick.
Yeah, sure,
if you don't mind, because the business isn't spoilery. So, Bill and Ted Face the Music was released August 28th, 2020, which is, I think, the newest movie we've done. We've come close. I might have to check. We've come close with stuff like Endgame, but I think this might be even closer. August 28th, 2020, it was finally released. Limited theaters, obviously, because of COVID, and digitally on demand. It had a budget of $25 million. It made $2.5 million in theater box office. I'm sure it's made a bunch more on all the digital on-demand rentals and blah, blah, blahs. Written by Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon. It is directed by Dean Parisot. And it stars Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, Kristen Schaal, Samara Weaving, Anthony Carrigan. We are going to talk about Anthony Carrigan once we get into spoiler stuff, because holy shit, he is a gem. If you've never seen Barry, it's on HBO. He is wonderful as NoHo Hank. Yeah, and just a whole William Sadler shows up, Jillian Bell, Kid Cudi, which we're going to get into Kid Cudi when we get into spoilers. Just a whole mess of fun characters. Yeah, Samara Weaving. Let's talk about her because it's spoiler free. She is definitely the breakout star of 2019-2020.
Has to be.
And I say that because she has done such a great job of creating a diverse resume for herself as an actress. We've covered now, this will be the third movie of hers that we've covered. We also did Guns Akimbo, and we did Ready or Not. Ready or Not. And I had also seen her previously in the Netflix movie The Babysitter, which apparently is getting a sequel later in the month.
That's another great one.
But she plays such different characters in each movie. She's going completely against typecast.
Right. And then the best part about this is that every single one of the movies, maybe with the exception of this one, but I think that this one is far more circumstantial in terms of the buzz and hype that it got. Yep. All of those other movies, The Babysitter, Ready or Not, Guns Akimbo, were all just movies that were supposed to just come out and go away.
They're very much word of mouth movies. Like we're movie guys, so we knew about them. You turned me on to Ready or Not.
Right.
I saw the Guns Akimbo trailer and was all in immediately.
Right.
Babysitter, I was looking through Netflix. I think it was last October. I was looking for horror movies on Netflix. So it's not like, you're right.
This isn't like Jennifer Lawrence, who gets attached to something like Hunger Games. You know what I mean? Like, she's not this. Samara Weaving isn't attached to this like young adult novel franchise where she's the tent pole and kind of pushed out there. And now, kind of, to talk about Guns Akimbo, this is the same or the opposite of what ended up happening with what's his name, the guy who's the star, Daniel Radcliffe. He was Harry Potter, and now he's kind of backtracking and doing all kinds of weird acting things to kind of get the Harry Potterness away. These are the movies that have no right to be as good as they are. And she takes them from movies that should suck to movies that are really good. And that just shows you how powerful she is as an actor.
Yeah, I mean, she's one of those, as you said, like the Hollywood marketing machine hasn't gotten behind her and her projects yet, but I definitely emphasize yet.
Yeah,
because within the next 2 years, you're going to see Samara Weaving above the title on posters in movie theaters, on big movies. Like,
this is the biggest.
Fantastic.
Yeah, this is the biggest movie that she's done, because
the most high profile, definitely.
Right, this is it, because this has
and she crushed it.
Oh, absolutely. But you look at Harry Potter, you know what I mean, and Daniel Radcliffe's star has diminished since doing Harry Potter, but it's like you're with Keanu Reeves.
But also, just to hit on Daniel Radcliffe a bit, and I feel he's done the same thing that Robert Pattinson's done, who's going to be the Batman soon. I think it's by design.
Oh, 100%.
When you say their star has diminished, I believe they voluntarily did that, because it's one of those things, like, you're an actor, and we talked about it a little bit last night on the first Bill and Ted movie where we were talking about Keanu Reeves and how, why would you do that English accent in the Dracula movie? And it's like, well, because I'm going to work with Francis Ford. It's a job. You're acting. Yeah. This is your job. So as actors, you want to work, and as actors and creative people, you want to create. And he got to a massive level. He was Harry Potter. He was fucking Harry Potter. He did what, 9 movies with them?
Yes.
So he
like that. 12,
literally 10? After probably the first one, theoretically, be responsible with your money, kids. Never had to work again.
Oh yeah, you're 100% right.
You get to a certain point, and Robert Pattinson had Twilight.
And Harry Potter.
He was in that.
He's in at least 2 Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. But the point being, you get to a certain point,
right?
And you're like, you're a superstar. You've made all the money you can make. You're at a peak of fame, and it's like, yeah, well, now I want to actually work, and now I have the ability, the good ability to choose the roles
because
that
Daniel Radcliffe can go and do Guns Akimbo and Swiss Army Man because I don't need to pick and choose my projects because every other weekend on AMC Family, they just show my movie that I'm the star of for 24 to 48 hours.
Because guess what? Every month the Harry Potter residual checks show up and they're in the 7 figures.
Oh, easy. So
at least high 6s every month.
Right. Yeah. When I talk about his star is diminished, I don't necessarily mean in terms of like his ability to be an actor, because I thought he was fantastic in Swiss Army Man and fantastic in Guns Akimbo. So I'm not trying to disrespect Daniel Radcliffe.
It's an accurate statement. It's an accurate statement, but again, it's by design, and some people would probably take it that way. But I believe that the actors have taken it upon themselves to basically carve out their own path, for lack of a better term. It's like, we hit lightning in a bottle, man. Again, say what you will about Twilight, those motherfuckers made money.
Right.
They made money. Robert Pattinson went on to do whatever he wanted to do, and he did some great movies.
Yeah, Water for Elephants is great.
If you look at Robert Pattinson as a Twilight guy, you haven't seen a Robert Pattinson movie.
Correct.
Because I haven't seen I haven't seen Twilight. I've never watched a Twilight movie, okay? Because I looked at it, I saw the trailers, I'm like, no, not for me.
No.
Cute, sexy vampires, not really my deal. But I've seen Lighthouse.
Right.
Fuck me, man.
Yeah. But basically, but Samara Weaving is a star. And it's funny because Bill and Ted Face the Music is made and built on the back of Keanu Reeves. And Bill and Ted 4 will be made on the back of Samara Weaving.
Yes. And hopefully Kristen Schaal as well, because she was phenomenal as Ted's daughter. Okay, I think we've stalled enough. Now we got to talk about the movie. So let's hit the so right off the bat, we wrapped up spoiler free, singing the praises of the 2 girls playing the daughters, Samara Weaving, Kristen Schaal. I loved the first time watching it. Right off the bat, I think I texted you. I'm 10 minutes in, and I was like, "We're doing this movie as a bonus show." And it was because it was that scene in the garage right after the opening scene in the wedding, which we'll run through it real quick. But that scene in the garage where the 2 daughters, it was adorable to watch. Bill and Ted with their daughters, and their daughters are so them, but in a different, cool, modern way. And it's like, these girls love their dads. Yes. And it's the coolest thing to watch in this movie because it's so like...
Well, even their motivation, because the cool thing about this movie, it does a great job of being a sequel and a reboot at the same time. And it does both very, very well, and I absolutely love that about it. But these girls just love and adore their fathers, and it lends itself to being their entire motivation for the movie because they're like, we need to help our dads. They're in trouble.
Like they literally said it at towards the end of the movie before the big climax, which was a twist, kind of. I would call it a twist in the ending there. They're like, oh, we just wanted to help our dad. Oh, they were in hell when they said it. They were in hell. They're like, oh, we just wanted to help our dads and we failed.
Yeah, right. That was it. That's all they wanted to do. But it's just like, it's so genuine and real. They do a great job of playing each other. like that's the best way I could describe it, because the girls definitely play, and especially Samara Weaving, you look at it and it's just like, oh yeah, you don't talk like that, you don't talk like that at all. And
no, she's what, South African or
something like that.
She definitely has a thick accent. It popped a couple times. I definitely,
perfect.
knowing how she talks, I definitely caught it a couple times. One was in the scene with William Sadler. In his apartment or whatever you call it in hell. It definitely popped there. I was like, there's your accent.
There it is.
What the fuck you from? South Africa? Yeah, they're wonderful. They're endearing. It's a movie that, and I know I texted you this. I said it right before we started recording. Maybe I'm just becoming old and emotional. Right. I was fucking tearing up in the last 15 minutes of this movie, and that was the first time. I'm like, all right, maybe it's like these are characters that I've known for 30 years, and I mentioned I wasn't the biggest Bill and Ted guy, so I'm like, that was what took me back, because I'm like, the first time watching, I'm like, why am I getting really emotional about this? And then this morning, watching it for the second time, it happened again. It was an involuntary thing. And I think it is the daughter-father dynamic, because it's that same scene right at the end where they're bringing the world together. And again, maybe it's a little bit of COVID. Maybe it's because the world is so shitty right now. And this was like
a genuinely happy moment.
You're bringing the world together and you're doing it as a family. And okay. The part that I talked about, I think on the last one, or maybe just before. Anyway, because yes, we did. In yesterday's Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure podcast, you said that they wrapped up the ending really quick.
Yeah.
And again, we'll go through the movie in a minute, but I feel the one thing that got really cut, and was a sacrifice to editing, was the wives and the older versions of themselves, because the older versions of themselves, despite being in full makeup, never said shit throughout the entire movie, and they just kind of showed up and then got pushed back into the phone booth and disappeared. And it's like, I think there was a lot more. And while I would love to see that, and I'm hoping that maybe when it hits Blu-ray, that stuff will come out, I'm happy that they kept it a tight 90-minute movie, because I feel that if they did put all that stuff in, you just want to get back to the Bill and Tedding.
Yeah, that was the thing, is like, I feel like there was more movie to be told. There was more movie to be told, and there was more plot to be had. But, even just like, maybe like 3 more minutes, you know what I mean? Just to kind of wrap up, because it was like, and then they saved the world, and everybody was united. Goodbye.
Bye.
And it was just like, oh, it was just, that was so abrupt. Oh,
I mean, but it was also in line. I mean, this, if we look at other movies that have done this legacy sequel thing, it's very similar to Force Awakens. It's like, it's very much in line with the first one, because if we just talked about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, it's like, yeah, they kind of just, they got they finished their project and game over. We're gonna riff with Rufus, and that's it.
Yeah, but it was like, if that didn't even happen, right? Like, they hit the they get in the phone booth and it ends, and they get the grade, and then all of a sudden it was just like, and then they went on to save the world. Goodbye, and we don't even get the Rufus scene.
There was a post-credit scene. Did you stick around for it?
No, I was at a drive-in.
Well, there was a post-credit scene of old Bill and Ted in the old age home rocking out.
Oh, yeah. See, I missed that.
Yeah, go ahead. Check it out. I'm sure it's on YouTube.
I'll have to find it.
But yeah, so there is a post-credit scene. I just spoiled it for you, but we're in spoilers anyway. So we start with at a wedding.
Yeah.
And Bill and Ted are welcoming everybody to the wedding of Ted's younger brother, Deacon.
That's so funny.
And
Such
Missy.
A funny bit. She's just running through these two families.
And and again, we talked about it last night on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. This kind of clears up the Missy timeline. So Missy, when Bill and Ted were freshmen, Bill and Ted both asked Missy to prom. 2 years later, marries Bill's dad.
Yep. Then marries Ted's dad.
Then marries Ted's dad. And now she's marrying Ted's younger brother, Deacon.
So funny.
Lovely. And if I'm not mistaken, same actress?
I think so.
I'm almost.
She looked the same.
Yeah, she looked identical. I'll pull it up in a second, but and because apparently Bill and Ted over the years have been on this quest to write a song that will unite the world, and they were put on this quest by the Future People, and they failed a lot.
They had one epic concert, and
so basically I'm assuming it was Samara Weaving doing the voiceover. It was one of the two daughters, and hang a bell. Oh, I've been quoting the wrong actress as Kristen Schaal.
Kristen Schaal is the future lady.
That's right. I'm sorry.
She played the Triceratops in Toy Story 3.
She is. Bridget Lundy Payne, I'm sorry. She played Billy in this movie. She was wonderful as well. So I apologize for calling you Kristen Schaal for the last hour and a half.
I apologize for letting you.
Sorry. Bridget Lundy Payne played Billy, and who was Ted's daughter in this. And so basically we get a quick VH1 behind the music of the Wyld Stallyns and how they had this epic concert at the Grand Canyon, and then they broke up, and then they didn't, and they sued death. And if you freeze frame and go and kind of go frame by frame of this, some of the magazine covers are pretty hilarious. But we also get a collection of Bill and Ted album covers. Some and this is something that I kind of just want to quickly hit on. Keanu Reeves needs facial hair. Sorry, it's going to be it was one of the big nitpicks when I saw the trailer, and watching the movie had the same feeling. And as someone who has a sloping jawline, you got to fake it, bro.
Yeah, right.
So, because that's all I could focus on when Ted is completely shaved, all I'm seeing is chin to neck.
Yeah, right.
And a couple of the album covers, they did one of those Entertainment Weekly reunion photo shoots a few years back, and it was he had a beard on, so he used it for one of the album covers, and I'm like, yeah. And normally nowadays when you see Keanu, he's got a beard, and it's like, so he knows, because he wears a beard in his real life, much like I do. It's like
even when he's hanging out with his very age appropriate girlfriend.
We're getting up there in age, and our chins are starting to drop a little bit. We got to hide it as much as we can. But that being said, the Wyld
He also just looks so rugged handsome.
He does. The Eddies of the world really love it.
Yep. And the ladies.
So we get a very brief overview of the Wyld Stallyns, and we're off and running. And we get that. So they try to sing their new song that's going to unite the world at the wedding. Yeah. It's just, okay. On the surface, it's weird and throaty and kind of like, this should be shit.
Yeah.
But about halfway through, when Keanu picks up that trumpet, I'm sitting there like, does it suck, or is it really kind of good?
Yeah.
Like I'm on like, because the two daughters, Thea and Billy, are sitting there like jamming out with it. They're loving that shit, and that happens in the garage scene that I talked about. Is the next scene where they're like, and they start referencing all this avant-garde shit that I have no idea about. But I'm like, it didn't really suck. Like, it wasn't as bad as Ted's dad made it seem.
Well, see, and that's the thing is and Ted's dad throughout all of these movies,
like I said, he's been a dick for 40 years.
Yeah, he just doesn't get it, right? That's the whole thing, is that he just doesn't share the same dream as his son. And
get it, man.
Yeah, he's been a cop the entire time, and it's just he doesn't get his son. That's what it is.
The fact that he's still an on-the-job police officer probably explains why he's such an asshole. Because, man, if you're not retired yet, you must be angry.
Yeah, you're just a dick.
And you must have done many people dirty to not be able to retire yet.
Right. And basically, this movie just goes because we immediately get Kristen Schaal, and she shows up.
I'm so sorry.
And basically, she just explains to them that it's like, look, you
Bridget
haven't
Lundy
made.
Payne. I'm so sorry.
It's just-
you were unbelievable in it.
Yes. But it's just like, yeah, basically you haven't made the song yet, so time is collapsing in on itself, and we need to make this happen now. And
Historical figures are basically blipping to different time periods,
right, and buildings.
And buildings. One of the nitpicks, we cut to Babe Ruth at bat. Right. The home Yankees are playing the away Yankees in the game.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
Both uniforms are Yankee uniforms. Yeah. I don't think anybody noticed it. And honestly, I didn't pick up on it until the very end of the movie on my second rewatch when they give everybody the instruments. Yeah. And the people are blipping back and we get Jesus with the cowbell and Kid Cudi goes back to his concert and all this stuff. And they cut to the baseball game and it's like, and I look and I'm like, oh, fuck, those are two different Yankee uniforms.
No. It would have been funnier if when they were blipping, it was Babe Ruth, but then like Roger Clemens was pitching, or you know what I mean? And so
they should have just had Roger Clemens playing Babe Ruth.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Could have done it.
Roger
anyway,
Clemens is the real life Kenny Powers. Look it
up. Yes, he is. But yeah, so they basically have to go do that, and then. Basically, the girls are put on a quest where they're going to try and help. And it's
they took it upon themselves,
right?
They took it upon themselves because, yes, Kristen Schaal, correctly referenced, does show up. Yeah, takes them to the future, and the two daughters, Billy and Thea, are just watching from the window. Right, and we kind of mentioned in the last one how, the unspoken highness of Bill and Ted in the first movie. I saved it for this because I knew we were going to talk about it. Right. Watch Samara Weaving again, licking the Cheetos off of her fingers. Oh, yeah. That's some high shit right there. Oh, yeah. Like, I immediately picked up and I'm like, you know what? That's good. Those girls got subtle high and she's having a love affair with those Cheetos on her finger, man.
Right. Well, and it's funny because that's the thing is like while drugs would have been more appropriate in these films, right? It would have been funnier. It would have not felt the same if all of a sudden it was just overt. And so for them to have the wherewithal when making this movie to be subtly high again.
Well, it's like, because we talked about it again, we've talked about it in the last one and even this one now. It would change the category of the movie. Right. It would go from, fun, family, comedy, sci-fi, time travel movie to stoner comedy. Right. And even though Bill and Ted can be referenced in stoner comedies when you're getting high and watching movies. Right. It's not because I don't want to say they're better. It's just different. It's definitely a different category and it's a different emotional feeling behind these movies than say a Cheech and Chong or a Pineapple Express type of movie. Right. Well, because in those movies, the drugs are a driving force, right? Yeah, it's a main character. Whereas, like, it's not about the drugs, right? Yeah, they're high. Yeah, they're high. they're definitely high the whole time. These three movies might have been a 40-year dream. Yeah, right. They might have taken some really good shit and taken a nap. George Carlin is Pam Grier. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of where we're at. But it's just like. It's not that's not what this movie is about. Whereas like Pineapple Express is about being high, and Cheech and Chong is about being high. And so, but yeah, they do a great job of keeping that sort of voice of this movie the series the entire time. But yeah, this is where we get the divergence in the plots because Bill and Ted keep meeting older versions of themselves because they're trying to steal the song from themselves, which I love how they immediately bailed on actually trying to write their quest to save the world is to write a song that unites the world, and they immediately go bail. Let's go steal it from ourselves. Yeah, right. Right. There's the old Rufus phone booth. Let's go steal that too. Yeah, let's steal that because we know how to use it, and let's go through time and make this happen. Yeah, it's
beautiful and it's perfect.
One of and I think I texted you this when I first watched it. I literally had to pause the movie because I was missing the next scene because I was still belly laughing so goddamn hard after they meet the first versions.
Yes.
So they go 2 years into the future, 2022.
Right. And they're playing at a bingo hall or something.
They're basically doing open mic night at the Holiday Inn hotel bar, basically. Yes. And they see each other, and the future Bill and Ted bail. They run. They're like, oh, shit, I forgot they were coming. And they take off, and then they catch up with them. Ted has an unbelievable drinking problem.
Yeah, yes.
The through line of this is Ted's marriage went to shit, and then Ted went to shit.
Yeah. Well, both of their marriages went to shit.
Right. And the next scene, they go because they realize that they lose their wives, so they go back to couples therapy, which is where they left their wives.
Right.
And they try to explain to them what happened, and it's a line, and I don't know why it made me laugh so goddamn hard, but it's Ted explaining to his wife what happened. And he's like, and we saw our future selves, and we were probably living in our Wyld Stallyns van. And Bill just interrupts him and goes, oh, we're definitely living in that van, dude. And I just lost it. I'm like, I don't know why. Like, little shit tickles me like that. And I'm just like, I laughed for probably 15 minutes straight, and I kept repeating the line. Oh, dude, we're definitely living in that van.
We're definitely living in that van.
And maybe it's the sight of big bloated Ted and Bill living in a van down by the river.
Right. Right, absolutely.
But man, and that's what and again, it goes back to this is really a good fucking movie.
Yeah,
like,
it really is.
It's really a good, like they weren't phoning it in for nostalgia's sake and to make a quick buck. Like, this is really fucking good.
Well, and it's funny because you hear those types of things when they're like, there's different like critics that are coming out being like, this movie's genuinely funny, and it's just like, I don't know, I'll believe it when I see it because this is a 30-year-old sequel, and generally these suck. And it's just like, oh no, this movie was genuinely funny. The robot that they send to kill Bill and Ted is so goddamn funny.
Anthony Carrigan, again, I mentioned when I was doing the business, one of the best parts of that TV show Barry with Bill Hader is Anthony Carrigan playing NoHo Hank. He is hilarious. I didn't know it was him until the credits. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. Because yes, the future, who is basically Rufus's wife, because Kelly is his daughter.
Correct.
Played by Kristen Schaal, who I've been toting. She's a great actress. But I was talking about the daughter. I'm really upset with myself over there.
It's okay.
But yeah, so Kristen Schaal is Kelly, who is Rufus's daughter, and his wife is now the leader of the world, basically.
Right.
She's the Princess Leia of this movie, and she sends Bill and Ted back, but realizes how quickly they bailed, which was immediate, and is like, all right, well, maybe the death of Bill and Ted is what actually will save the world, even though we tried that last movie.
Right.
Anyway, she sends back the killing robot, which for the first half of the movie seems just like a fucking killing robot.
Yeah, Terminator,
straight up. And holy shit, Dennis Caleb McCoy is a delight.
A delight. Oh man, he is dorky and so goofy.
When he realizes how bad he fails and has an existential crisis of fucking character, it's awesome.
Yeah, he just has a mental breakdown.
I can't kill anymore. My name is Dennis. All right, dude, let's go.
Yeah.
Dennis McCoy.
Okay, Dennis McCoy.
All right, Dennis McCoy, let's go. Dennis Caleb McCoy. That's my full name. All right, dude, you're a weird robot who somehow has died and is having a mental breakdown. Your name is Dennis Caleb McCoy. Let's fucking go. So fun. Even at the end when they're all saying goodbye and Kelly comes over and she's got Dennis, which by the way, the mother named the robot after her ex-boyfriend. Wonderful.
It's so funny.
The killing robot after her ex-boyfriend, and she's got him in tow. And she's like, I already said bye to the girls. I'm taking off. I hope you guys, I hope you do your job and we all don't die. And they're like, all right, see you later, Kelly. Bye, Dennis. And his last line is, yes, my name is Dennis.
It's so funny. It's
a robot.
It's just a dumb robot.
Or when they're in hell and the demons are giving them directions and like, oh yes, we've seen them. Those are really two nice girls. They were very friendly. They went that way with their group. And he's like, thank you, demons. And the robot walks by and he goes, thank you, demons. He's like, and the two demons are like, all right, that's weird. There's a robot in hell. That's something you don't see every day.
Yeah, right. I know.
Just the subtle shit makes me belly laugh.
Well, it's also
movie.
the fact when they find Death and he's just playing tetherball by himself
and cheating.
Yeah. So funny because that's a funny callback to Bogus Journey when he was just terrible at games.
Yep.
Yeah.
And apparently they sued him. He tried to steal the name Wyld Stallyns because he was doing 40-minute bass solos in the middle of their shows. Like that, there was, like I said, there was a very quick VH1 behind the music on the Wyld Stallyns that I wish we got a longer version of.
Right.
On the bonus stuff on the Voodoo, at the least, we got an MTV Cribs of Death's little apartment there.
That's really funny.
Which is fun and different. I wish we got the full behind the music on the Wyld Stallyns, and I'm hoping for a Blu-ray bonus feature on that one.
That'd be pretty great. But yeah, I mean, I think that also the reveal at the end, because all while this is going on, the girls are basically redoing the plot of the first movie, kind of.
Yeah. They're picking up famous musicians instead of famous historical figures.
Right, because they figure if they can get all of these famous musicians together, they will help their dads make the song that'll unite the world. That's the thought process. So it's basically the same thing. And again, that's where this legacy sequel reboot thing kind of comes into play, because their plot is basically the same plot as the original Bill and Ted, which is fine. It's executed very well. The dialogue and the banter is great. Obviously, we used different musicians, or different historical figures, so nothing was stale or anything like that.
Oh,
but
just not to interrupt, but I'm reading just little facts, and they named Kelly as a tribute because that's George Carlin's daughter's name.
Oh, okay.
And that because she played Rufus's daughter, they that's a cool little touch.
Nice.
Yeah.
He made an appearance. Well, George Carlin's Rufus made an appearance as a hologram, so that was really cool.
Yep. Weird though. Upon again the second rewatch, he said it was factually a little bit inaccurate because he showed up in the first movie and it was 1988, right?
Yeah,
that's right over. Yeah, and in the hologram, he goes, hello, my excellent friends. This is the original phone booth that I took to San Dimas. And as they're walking away, you hear the voiceover keep going in 1989. And I'm like, I picked up on it on my rewatch, not the first time, because the first time I'm like, oh, it's George Carlin. That's really cool. But I'm like, wait a minute. That's the wrong fucking year.
Yeah, right.
The first time you went to San Dimas to meet Bill and Ted was 1988.
Yeah, interesting.
It was released in 1989.
Right.
Maybe that's what they were referencing.
That has to be.
But the movie clearly had a title card on the first one, 1988. Yeah. I'm right. And if you don't like it, tweet me at Mike Wendt.
Yes.
But yeah, so we start going through, the daughters start going through time, much like their fathers did in the first one, and collecting historical musicians, Jimi Hendrix. Who else? We got Louis Armstrong.
Right.
Is Beethoven Mozart is in this one. Beethoven was the first one. We got Mozart. Ling Lee is another one.
Yeah,
and Grom was the drummer.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the band. Right?
Yeah. And Kid Cudi.
Kid Cudi joins the party by accident completely, but apparently knows. Basically, Kid Cudi is Michael Douglas and Ant-Man. He knows everything about the quantum realm.
Right. Again, I think that's what the Station reference later is that he is Station. Yeah. That's the only thing that makes sense, because Station in Bogus Journey is the smartest person in the world, or the smartest being in the world, and they're like two aliens that become one giant alien. So I would have to imagine that he was Station, and that's what that reference was. Maybe. But yeah, so basically it comes crashing down and it hurts inside.
I still think Kid Cudi pulled a fucking I want to say Station. It was my favorite part of the second movie.
Yeah, might have been.
Maybe. Kid Cudi being there, it's a weird like it feels like Kid Cudi reached out to them and was like, dude, put me in the movie.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, Bogus Journey. Yeah.
Because, no disrespect to Kid Cudi, but wouldn't you have put like a Snoop Dogg in there?
Yeah.
Like massive artist.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just it felt very much like Kid Cudi is a massive Bill and Ted fan and really requested to be in this movie as any way possible. Like I have nothing backing that up. And if Kid Cudi you're listening, tweet at me at Mike Wendt.
Yeah, we want to know. Well, we would also love to talk to you about Bill and Ted.
Look, hey, we got a response from fucking Ice-T and David Arquette on our 3,000 Miles to Graceland podcast. Kid Cudi, come at us.
Yeah, please. I would love to talk to you about Bill and Ted. Keanu Reeves, if you're listening to this, I would love to talk to you about anything at all. I also want Keanu Reeves, his Shane Falco jersey to be retired if they change the Washington football team name to the Washington Sentinels, because that would be fantastic.
You do a whole other show on that, and I love what. Never mind. No. Yeah.
But anyway,
we did the replacements. It's in the archives.
Yes. So I just love the climax of this movie. Basically, the entire world has ended up in this one single place because time is collapsing in on itself
and causing a traffic jam.
Right, causing a huge traffic jam. Yeah. And so Bill and Ted figure out that the girls actually write the song, and they have to go throughout time to help everybody kind of play it together.
Yeah, so basically it was never said that the Wyld Stallyns wrote a song that united the world. It was always worded very specifically as Preston Logan wrote a song. And all throughout the movie, much like the audience would think, it was obviously Bill and Ted, because that's the through line we've been knowing for 30 odd years. And then, we get, a lot of false starts. We mentioned the open mic night at the Holiday Inn. They break into Dave Grohl's house and pretend to be successful musicians, the future thems. That's 5 years after that one. And that's a whole other box of worms. That's a fun scene. But there's still failures at it. So they go another 5 or 10 years into the future after that incident. Right. And we're in prison. And this was a bunch of fun, mostly for me, because every time I've seen that, there was a shot of just the two of them all muscled up in the trailer. Up until seeing the movie, I thought that Keanu was played by Sheamus from WWE. Because I looked at every time the trailer, it was such a quick cut. I'm like, oh, wow, they got Sheamus to do Ted. Like, I had no idea who Bill was, but that was definitely Sheamus in that scene. And all of a sudden they come like, oh, they just made them up to be muscly prisoners. Like, the makeup on this movie was astounding. Yeah, this movie was far higher budget than it had any right to be. The movie was better than it had any right to be, too. And so that doesn't work. But again, the wives show up to the prison with the old versions of themselves, and we get nothing. They literally just push back into the phone booth and yada yada, move on. Yeah, I feel a lot of the wife stuff was hitting the cutting room floor just to keep the Bill and Ted train moving. Well, I feel like this movie could have easily been 2 hours. Oh, very easily, and I'm sure it was. I'm sure the first cut probably was. And they're like, come on, let's tighten it up. Tighten it up. Yeah, because there were probably 3 stories that were happening, maybe 4. At the very least, it was Bill and Ted, the 2 daughters, and the 2 wives, because they were all traveling through different realities. And then we get to the old age home, where we finally get the song that will unite the world on a USB stick with the 2 old Bill and Teds. And that gets fucked up because Dennis Caleb McCoy, the robot, shows up and he just can't kill anybody right. No, he can't. At this point, he's already blasted the daughters and all of the famous musicians to hell, along with Kelly. And now he's just having a mental breakdown. Yeah. And his dad. Yeah. He blasted his dad in the SWAT truck. Thank God, because that wouldn't have got everybody back up to Earth in time. It's true. And so Bill and Ted jump on the laser and they all go to hell. They get death. Right. And they get the band back together. Right. And, the convenient Guitar Center truck is convenient. It is what it is. It is. So that just there is things stuck. If we're going to nitpick, I wish that the ending song
was like an actual song. Like I feel like if this movie had a larger budget,
What, like Heal the Fucking World?
yeah, I don't know, like just have it be a real song because it doesn't feel like it was a song so much
Yeah, but
as
it wasn't that, and that was, I think that was kind of the point, at least
Right.
of the daughter's story, is like because the daughters were the daughters were Preston and Logan that wrote the song, and even they explained it. It's like, we don't really write music; we just listen to stuff we like and then we rearrange it. It's almost like it wasn't a song; it was a remix, and
right,
and that's what they did. They took a bunch of Guitar Center shit, put it up on a flatbed.
Right. And then
save the world.
Right. And then the Bill and Ted go and give everybody music so that everybody participated in the song. And that's what united the world. So it's like, it made sense. It made sense. I just would have loved a killer song.
Ted shows up and gives Deacon a saxophone and Missy a little ukulele. And he's like, whoa. He's like, I'm kind of an infinite being. Check your layer. It's like, what?
Right. Right.
Again, this movie is really funny.
It is really funny.
Like,
it's so much better.
Way more laughs than I expected.
It's so much better than it has any right to be, and that's really exciting.
Once they all get their shit together and they start playing the music, and really when the daughters are really basically conducting the band,
right?
And then they bring in their dads. That was when it's like, oh, the fuck is my eye leaking? I got allergies or something? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, why am I being emotional about this so much? It's Bill and Ted, for Christ's sakes. And
it's a conclusion to a promise that was made 30 years ago. You know what I mean? Is like, you're finally seeing that moment, and that's why. And
back on Alderaan, Princess Leia, Kelly, and Dennis the robot all watch the world come together and the planets align and
everything's okay.
All is right with the world, and we be excellent to each other and party on.
Yeah. And the good thing is that you said it, I think, either at the beginning of this episode or in our Bill and Ted episode, but because of the success of this, it looks like there's going to be more. And what's exciting is that we now live in a world where we are post unification song, right?
Yes.
So whatever adventures we go on from here, we can go anywhere. We can go on any time travel adventure we want now, which is kind of exciting.
And again, we talked, before we started the spoilers, we talked about it in the last episode. Samara Weaving. We got to see more of her, and I'm going to get it right this time. Bridget Lundy Payne is the other daughter in this one. She plays Billy. They're amazing. I want to see their stories. Like that's the Bill and Ted I want to see. It's like, and it's weird because it is very stereotypical current day reboot where it's like, all right, let's just, we're going to take the old story and make it their kids, and we're going to go from there. The modern, the new era. It's like, yeah, but you can also do both ways. Like this was a perfect blend of what is happening a lot today, which is just taking young actors and putting them in the roles of famous characters.
Right.
But also blending it with, it's basically, it's doing what Terminator tried to do, only doing it right.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like I've said a million times on the show, Terminator Dark Fate, which came out last year, wasn't as bad as the box office or the critics said it was, but it wasn't that good either.
Right. It's because you just tried to reboot all of the archetypes with people.
It just didn't work.
Right.
Whatever they tried to do didn't fucking work. This works. They basically did that correctly in this movie, which is funny because, it's a Bill and Ted movie and not a Terminator movie, which I know it's, apples and oranges, but it's also like, $100 million, $25 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right. One of those should have been easier to get right, and the other one was Terminator.
Like, yeah, exactly. Fucking exactly, man. But yeah, it was a wonderful movie. I am really happy I bought it. Plain and simple. I go back. I know I talked about how I bought it in a bundle pack, but even so, I'm really happy I pulled the trigger because I was on the fence even with the bundle pack, and yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Even upon the rewatch, I've watched it twice now this week, and really, really fun, really great movie. I really highly suggest checking it out.
Awesome.
And yeah, so all right, that's Bill and Ted Face the Music.
That is Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Coming up next week,
yes,
Eddie, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
I'm really excited for this. Next week, we will be watching a movie where a legendary monster does battle with a mechanized counterpart sent down by aliens intent on taking over the Earth. That's right. We are watching 1974's Godzilla versus Mecca Godzilla.
Holy shit. I'll be honest, I haven't seen any of the Godzilla movies.
I have seen like
that includes the Bryan Cranston and Matthew Broderick versions.
I've seen those. Well, no, I've seen the Matthew Broderick one. I haven't seen the Bryan Cranston one. But I've seen footage of Godzilla movies, like when Sci-Fi did like a 5-day marathon or whatever.
Clips. I know what Godzilla is.
Right. But yeah, I have never sat down from start to finish and watched a Godzilla movie. And I'm very excited to do that now.
Well, now, and for those of you playing at home, now thanks to the sneaky collaboration between the Criterion Collection and HBO Max, all of the Godzilla movies are available on HBO Max.
Right.
So yeah, and definitely do a little Google searching, because you can get HBO Max for $11.99 right now instead of $14.99. And that's not a plug. That's just I get an email and I'm like, oh, okay. I already have it for $11.99, but cool.
Well, yeah, that would
now everybody.
It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, dig deep into the movie catalog. We talked about it when HBO Max first debuted. They got some, especially that Turner Classic Movie section.
Right.
They got some sneaky classic movies. And little did I know when I signed up for it, and I'm now happy that it is a thing. They have a ton of Criterion. Basically, the Criterion channel is all over on HBO Max. And the movies they have, like Night of the Living Dead, is the Criterion transfer of that.
Right.
Same with all these Godzilla movies. Same with the Charlie Chaplin movies. They're all the Criterion Collection, which is the peak of home entertainment. And that, again, that sounds like a plug. I wish it was. It's not.
Right.
But yeah, definitely. If you want to play along with us next week, it's Godzilla versus Mecca Godzilla. Is that correct, Eddie?
Yes.
All right. Follow That Movie Show on Facebook. It's facebook.com/thatmovieshowtv. Follow myself and Eddie on social media at Mike Wendt, at the Eddie McCabe. And of course, subscribe to our podcast on basically your favorite audio podcasting apps.
All of them.
Please, we're on all of them. We are on every single one. And if we're not on one, let us know and we'll get it on that one. And by all means, tell your friends that you like That Movie Show. It's a whole bunch of fun. And let them know by putting a review on one of these Facebook things or iTunes things. Or
just hit the like button.
That would help us. That would help us out a bunch. All right, and we'll see you next week for Godzilla versus Mecca Godzilla.
Bye, everybody.
Hooey Valley, Hooey Hollywood.